And then looking at some of the challenges, so we're a legacy business, so we've been around for a really, really long time. Some parts of the business, processes haven't changed for over 40 years. Some people are horrified about that, some people are really proud about that. So basically, we're kind of working with our colleagues to improve. And I've been thinking about exercise. The more you do it, the better you get at it. There's some people in the business that haven't exercised for a really, really long time. There's obviously going to be some sprained ankles and some injuries along the way, which we've had many. But we're getting to a really good place now, and that kind of continuous improvement is something that we're starting to see some really, really good results around, and Scout has been critical to kind of giving us that. So before Scout, process improvement was quite a challenge. So no disrespect to any consultancies, but typically it would involve going to a consultancy, bringing them in, focusing on a department where we knew we had a problem. That was typically an expensive exercise. It's very disruptive. You would take a team out of their normal day-to-day, often in workshops for many, many hours, and it would take a really long time to get to value. And then we started working with Soroco about 18 months ago now, and really kind of that Scout, when we were kind of like understanding kind of what the technology does and how actually it democratizes kind of that process. It was fantastic to see actually kind of the outputs of what it would give us. So a real methodology kind of like to how we get to that process. Very collaborative with the process owners within those teams, and actually it gave us very visual outputs so we could see those processes mapped, and most importantly actually kind of like where the value was. So what could be automated, what could be standardized, what was the value of that automation, therefore where are we going to prioritize and what we need to tackle first. And that kind of scalable element that kind of was missing beforehand absolutely is there now. So our journey had to start somewhere, and we kind of started in the finance and people services team, where actually that team were really kind of open to kind of using Scout and kind of seeing the outputs. And just to give you some examples, so there was one process the team leader created in Excel, which took her 45 minutes to do once a month. But the rest of her team, it would typically take them between 4 and 5 hours, which she had no idea about. And Scout was fantastic at highlighting that, and then obviously enabled us to work collaboratively as a team to kind of redesign that. And again, in the people services team, there's a huge amount of manual repetitive tasks that were happening on a daily basis. There was a huge amount of people actually that were off on long-term sick, which is a real challenge. So that employee experience was absolutely key to improving. So the kind of the outputs were really tangible. They enabled us to kind of show them across the business. So in teams that we were about to go into, we could show kind of like what had been scouted in other parts of the business. There was a process in the kind of VAT team, where at the beginning of the exercise, it would take someone a week, once a month, to complete a process. And after a lot of iteration, we've got that down now to less than a day. So kind of really tangible in terms of the outputs that we've been seeing, and again, kind of back to that kind of the example about exercise. Those teams are much better now at that continuous improvement, and really thinking about actually kind of how they can find new kind of processes and tasks that we can look at automating, or kind of standardizing or removing. And it also kind of showed us actually where we needed to improve the kind of the systems that we're using in the teams. We brought in a completely new ERP solution, and again, the process and tasks that were highlighted in Scout kind of fed into the requirements of what was coming next. And it's really been around kind of a process of standardization. So I'd say that gave us kind of a lot of confidence to create a kind of program of work that was focused around automation. And as a result of that, we've been able to create that program, hire kind of resource, and really kind of move across the whole of the business, so across all of HQ. So we started in the people and finance team. We're now kind of going through safety and ops, commercial, the whole business. And just to kind of talk about kind of what we're kind of currently doing at the moment, a live example. So they're kind of safety in the ops team. They're like air traffic control, but for on the East Coast. So it's the day-to-day kind of running of the railway. The processes that kind of exist in that team kind of have existed for a really long time for a very good reason. But the kind of the outputs on a day-to-day basis are really governed around how good that person is at what they do, how much sleep they've had, their experience, and all of that good stuff. But ultimately, they're kind of human beings and they're fallible. The kind of the stuff to go at in this example is delay minutes, and we've got hundreds of thousands of delay minutes, which we should obviously not kind of like pay out by better processes and better responses to kind of service delivery. Every minute that we're delayed costs about £200, so the impact to the business is really, really, really significant. And we're starting to use Scout now to kind of look at on a daily basis, an operational basis, actually how can we improve those processes? How can we look at standardization? How can we continuously improve what we're doing? Because the impact actually kind of like to the bottom line and to our customer is really significant. Trying to reduce the delay minutes as a business, but also customer delay minutes as well. And we're now at a point where, or almost, where teams are kind of really seeing the value. Again, we're a traditional business, so I'd say at the beginning there was quite a lot of fear kind of around us looking at keystrokes and clicks and their tasks. And again, appreciate Scout isn't designed to look at individual productivity.